Hi, everyone. It's Cricket Barrientos with Sounds of Autism. I'm here today with Mayor Konstantine. Konstantine, you're going to have to help me with your last name. Anthony, correct?
That is correct, yeah. It's that easy, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was Anthony Konstantine, and Dr. Khan corrected me yesterday, so thank you. And I'm here with Dr. Khan in Pakistan, our Spectrum Talks and Tips Global and International Development Director. Konstantine, thank you for taking the time today to meet with us. I know that you were just appointed by your city to become the mayor of your city in Burbank, California. That's an exciting thing. We were just talking a little bit before we started this about your top three, first things on your agenda. And I would love to, I know you were talking about homelessness, and I think that's a big one for everybody. Can you share with us the other two, and then just give me a little bit of, a little perspective of how you think you're going to address those things? Because I think, if we all could start sharing best practices, maybe we'll figure this out as a community, as a society.
Yeah. So homelessness is key. We have an epidemic in this country about, how we refuse to take care of folks who have fallen by the wayside, and we tend to ignore the needs of those folks. And that is exacerbated right now up and down California because we have what's called an affordable housing crisis. So the state of California as a whole, and specifically Southern California, where I'm at, just has refused to build new housing for decades. And it's become sort of an induced scarcity kind of an issue. And so for me, those are the top two issues, for homelessness and affordable housing. So first and foremost, I subscribe to the housing first method, which is, we shouldn't try to fix everybody's problems before we consider them worthy enough to help. So let's just get people off the streets into housing. Let's get them a place to lay their head at night. And what that does, and this is proven effective, is people start to get better the moment they're off the street. This has been proven. People's mental health, people's physical health, it improves when they're sleeping indoors, when they have a safe space to really, be themselves and feel safe. And so that to me is a key aspect of that. And then the affordable housing component is we just have to construct new housing. We got to build stuff, that is one of the great things about a local government that I feel it's really on the ground and creating new things for people in their lives. So we're literally out here building new homes and new construction. That creates jobs, right? Someone's got to build these things. So we're creating jobs, we're creating homes, we're building communities, designing neighborhoods and cities that are places that people want to live. So those are my two big issues. I would say my third biggest issue that I've campaigned on for years about is police reform. And for those of you who haven't been following what's going on in the United States right now, there is a big undercurrent in local law enforcement that has affected many people in many different areas, but mostly in low income and Black and brown neighborhoods, which, we tend to ignore in this country. It's true. I mean, you can see it on the news. We regard certain areas as high crime areas, and we allow our local police departments to treat those neighborhoods differently and the people who live there differently. We just do. And I think it all comes down to a fundamental change in how we see criminality. This goes back to the very first point about homelessness. We tend to think that people who are down on their luck, people who live in bad neighborhoods, people who have engaged in some form of petty crime are suddenly bad people, right? People make mistakes. People are hungry. People are needy. And sometimes that means they're gonna do stuff that they're ashamed of. And yet we as a society think, oh, well, you know, you made one mistake, so now you're a bad person. We label you as a bad person, and you deserve all the bad things that come to you. And I just don't subscribe to that mentality.
Thank you for sharing that. And, I love hearing perspectives, especially from people that are in different areas, in different cultures, whatever it may be, because, sometimes, like, I come from Chicago and now we're in Arizona. Those are two different environments. A lot of things like you're dealing with in California are very similar, to Chicago and the things they're struggling with right now, bigger cities. But then Phoenix is starting to go in that direction. I can tell you this. We work with recovery victims for domestic violence, human trafficking, and then, individuals that are raising vulnerable populations. When I say vulnerable populations, I'm talking autism, at-risk disabilities, things like that. And some of the things that you're talking about, and this is no negative to you or anybody, is we always talk about Black, Brown, and those people that are homeless and things like that. But the one population that nobody ever talks about and never comes up in conversation, and it's everybody that I talk to, is the disabled. And it's like, guys, we're fighting the same fight everybody else is fighting. And you want to talk about not having homes and jobs. These individuals have developmental delays, and they can't even get state or federal funding to survive. And now they're homeless, and they're in a population of people they don't understand, and nobody understands them. They just think they're awkward or weird, and they're on the streets, and nobody's helping them. What do you think is happening there? Fentanyl overdose. We lose people every year for these types of things. So I hear what you're saying, and I'll be honest with you. People always talk about police reform, and they talk about reforming society, reforming their communities. I'm going to share something. I ran restaurants for over 30 years. I managed people, and our turnover in that industry is on average 286%. So when you hire one, you lose 3 people. You never go past point A in those restaurants because you always have to be in training mode. And one of the things I encourage people to take a step back and look at, especially in leadership, is look at your community and where it's failing, and pull people in and start sitting down at the table and put all of the things that are not working in a bowl and make a cake with that and bake it in the oven, and you're going to see it. It's not going to work. But when you start listening to everybody's side, my husband is a Phoenix police officer. He's been on for 15 years. You want to talk about unfair advantage or whatever it may be. There has never been a consistent time in our lives with how his job goes because of all the stuff that's going on in our world. I mean, when he first got on, the second day that he was on, or the first day, they gave him a pink slip. We don't have enough money. You have to go home. And he's like, I can't go home. My wife's going to kill me. I need a job. Right. And they finally were able to keep him. And he didn't tell me that for years because it would have stressed us out. But, everybody has to come to the table, and it has to be that they're there for the right reason. My husband brought this into my children's lives way back, and my son has autism, so he remembers everything. He said the golden rule is how we will live our lives, and what that means, as you know, is we treat others the way we want to be treated, to be the models of what good people look like. And so it sounds to me like you have been that model for your community. And I would love to talk to you off the record. I know Dr. Khan has questions for you, and I'm going to take this all up, but off the record, maybe we can have a conversation. I have some affordable housing ideas that I think would benefit everybody's community. It would improve your communities because you're now improving areas that might need to be abated or improved because it's sitting there and it's an eyesore. And, the cities are like, well, we write that off. So if we lose that, that's not a good thing. Well, how about if you get to still write it off, but you also make money on it?
Yeah,
and
that's where those are the neighborhoods we're targeting here in Burbank. Absolutely. Yeah, that's
I would love to share that.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, these opportunities, the way that we can design this, it follows tax code where it's still going to be where you can get grant funding for it, this idea. But sometimes when you live in these worlds, and you said it's a small community where you're at, or a smaller community, people only kind of know that area, and they don't, like, I'm sure you're busy every day, probably have an agenda all day long, and you never have time to breathe. So how are you going to go out there and find out what best practices are working for other people? I think we have to start doing that. And if we're going to continue doing what we've been doing all this time, institutionalized thinking, we're never going to fix these problems. We're always going to have issues.
It can't be a top-down mentality. You have to get on the ground and you have to build it from the ground up. Absolutely.
And you having your hands, like you just said, boots on the ground. You're out in most mayors, they're dressed up in a business suit with, ties. Good for you. Be an individual and participate. I always say, if a team prevails, or a leader can get their team to prevail, there is no hierarchy. The team will manage itself, and they will work together. And I think that's very, very important, especially with come easy. We need to get back out there. We need to get boots on the ground, and we need to start addressing these issues. The issue is just going to grow, and a lot of those people are now going to be undiagnosed or diagnosed disabilities. And when that happens, guess what? You have some major problems, bigger than what you already have.
One of the things I like to do is walk instead of drive everywhere I go, so that I can bump into people. It's a nice way to connect with the folks in my community and to hear about their personal issues, and also to meet folks that I haven't met before, and talk to people who, aren't politically engaged and don't know who the mayor is. And for me, hearing from those people is very important, because that's a huge component of the way I do my work.
I think it's important, and I know that people feel like, for me to be a good leader in the eyes of people, I'm going to have to conform to what they want and what's popular. I always say the best leaders out there are the ones that are going to think outside the box, and they have the ability to persuade and offer their power of influence to get people to see things differently. And sometimes, like I said, that's just pulling people to the table, and everybody works together. And everybody comes up with these ideas together, because when you give ownership to those people and you empower them to have a voice, guess what? Things change, and people come together and they want to do that. I would have your homeless population, if you're going to build affordable housing for them, make them help you build those houses. Make them come in and be a part of that team so that they own it.
So we're doing a big...
You get it.
Yeah. Hiring the folks and giving them jobs is even more important. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And making them feel like they're a part of society. You said it yesterday. I was talking to one of my recovery victims, and we were both talking, and I said, you don't ask for much. All you want is a steady income, and whether it's from government funding or if it's her going out and getting a job, she doesn't care. She just needs to do that, but she's trying to raise a child and recover. But she said, housing, food, food, shelter, and a little extra spending money to buy clothes and things that are going to make her integrate back into society. That's all she's asking for. She's not asking for a Rolls Royce. And these are people that have gone through a lot of trauma, and even that is difficult sometimes. The homeless population, they're their own community, and they protect one another. And as we're driving, we see these 5 people. I think they're fighting. They're actually friends. They're just going through a bad morning together, right? And that was how they woke up this morning. But for somebody like me, I don't understand that. So I need to pay more attention to those things. So you walking around and seeing those things and engaging, those could be your powers of influence every day. So good for you. Dr. Khan, I'm done because I took up all the time. So you go ahead and ask questions. Thank you, Konstantine, for joining us today and having an open mind for your leadership. Thank you.
No, it's okay. The thing is that, hi, Konstantine. Congratulations. I congratulate you already before, but happy new year also to you and to your family and to your wife also. She's so lovely, by the way, and I like her hair, curly hair. So my point is that I belong to a different culture. I'm from Pakistan, and I started to communicate a lot of people, and I'm autistic too. And the reason to communicate a lot of people is that how they're holding up, how systems are for them. Yesterday, I was in a place, and you were talking about housing and things like that. I just post this on Twitter. What was your age when you are diagnosed? And
sorry, say that again. You posted on Twitter?
Yeah, I posted on Twitter, what was the age when you were diagnosed? And the age came after 60. Like 60 to 70% people say that we were at the age of 60 when we were diagnosed with autism or ADHD, whatever this is, whatever like they are saying. But the point is that they don't have stability in their life, you know. And the point is that they spend their whole life just like that. And like a mother told me, because we are so afraid to get diagnosed because social workers are coming for our children, they're going to get our children back from us. And I think that was a concern. And the mother was fighting with me too. Then I said that, okay, sorry, I am not familiar with your system, I'm just trying to get insight of the problems that you're facing. That like the thing is that I always wanted to understand that people think that like for us autism is more nothing, you know. If I talk about the general perspective autism, they think people don't have a language, they cannot talk, but they don't understand that what is the meaning of communication. But when I see somebody that who is like who did everything in their life, who crossed, you know, all the barriers, all the fighters, the first thing I would like to understand, because I talk so much, you know, a lot of jumping around because I was excited too. But first thing I would like to know from you that how difficult it was for you, because I know that it's not an easy thing to do all the things, because you were talking to cricket that you're actor too and you did other things as well. So how difficult it was for you to do everything and becoming a mayor?
So there's always, I'll preface this by saying I've worked in disability rights for around 14 years or so. And in my advocacy, in my work, I spend a lot of time with folks, you know, at different levels of need, at different levels of success. And I don't like to use words like productivity or functionality or high or low functioning and stuff like that. It's basically just how much an individual person has learned about their own personal needs, right? If someone has been able to get the services they needed in their youth and taught to self-regulate, taught to manage their emotions, understand where their own personal strengths and weaknesses are, then I believe that person has a better chance of success at whatever it is they want to do, right? I don't say success as money or wealth or fame or power, any of that stuff, owning certain things, blah, blah, blah. Whatever they deem success is, if their success is, I just want a steady job and a steady paycheck, I just, I want to get married someday and have kids, or I just want to be a productive member of society and known in my community as a good person, like whatever that person thinks of as success, there's a way to get there by having advocates like us, like folks who are working every day, teaching and being examples and serving as mentors. For me personally, I had a lot of people helping me when I was growing up. I had my parents, I had my teachers, I had my instructors and trainers, and I was very, very blessed to have a really good boss when I was in my 20s, a man who managed a local comedy club who took me under his wing and basically gave me the ins and outs and told me, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And, there was a time where I screwed up really big, and he brought the hammer down and said, look, man, I can't let you get away with this. You have to suffer the consequences. And that was like a really big wake up call for me, to know that somebody who was, someone I looked up to and someone who took me under their wing is still being able to be very strict and stern about what the consequences of my actions were. All of this is hugely important for everyone's development, but especially for folks on the spectrum, because it needs to be black and white with us. It needs to be laid out very
because we cannot live
clearly.
in a gray area, actually. I know, when something is said, but somebody says something, I need to look at what does that mean. I cannot look, abstract thinking. So I need to understand, like you said, that you and And I think I have seen, maybe you might have seen a lot of people that who are autistic, but they don't show this to the world. You might know a lot of folks too, and like
Yeah.
when we are doing our personal discussion, like if they did not disclose this, then we are not going to disclose this about us, because
Right.
somehow, because I am in the system, and I felt somehow, okay, these traits of that person is just like that. But coming as an autistic male is something, a very big achievement, I would say, and it take a lot to say, because somehow I'm also getting in that place where I am trying to share my own problem with people. I have to be the exact picture of a perfect therapist. Like therapists
Right.
cannot have those problems. So I was talking to somebody and tell them, they said, why you're doing this? I said that, do you understand that how much effort it took me to come to that place? How much effort I have to put in my university time? How much effort I need to put in my, because my trainer were neurotypical, and they were very hard on me. For example, you might also know that, we cannot work in pressure. I don't know about you, but I cannot work that much in pressure. Other thing is that if somebody is asking me to do something, for example, if I'm not comfortable with a phone call using mobile phone, then I was forced to do that thing for so long. And
Right.
it will give me panic attacks. So
Oh yeah.
people don't understand that, but
Yeah.
what does that mean to do that? Then we know that we cannot communicate with the people, other people are communicating to us. So I think you just said that, that what to need to do, and what I will deduce from that is, if you know that you like something is your passion, that you have to master that thing, and you need to put a lot of effort into that, and that thing is going to help you out to communicate the individual on your own terms. For
Yeah.
example, if I said this to somebody, I cannot talk to, a lot of people sometimes, they said, oh, you're all the time over there and you're doing this and you're doing this and you're doing this. I said that you don't understand that communication is a structured communication. If you can ask me a question just like that, I cannot answer to that question.
Yeah. But that's our job as advocates and allies. How do we teach folks to communicate their needs? How do we teach folks to express what is problematic for them? What they need to have in place for their own success? But the other side of it is, the rest of society needs to learn how to be accommodating. They need
That
to
is the point.
understand, that those little things that we're asking for are not huge. They're
And
not.
they don't talk about hidden disabilities. Do they understand what is hidden disabilities?
Right.
They don't understand that. And hidden
No.
disabilities,
I mean,
or
well,
whatever
look,
term they
I
use,
will,
they don't
not to
understand
cut
that.
not to cut you off, but I will say I've been in so many disability spaces that I've gotten very good at finding out who has the hidden disabilities, only because I look for it now. And
That
obviously
is
I
the
don't
point.
say it out loud, but I can see when I'm talking to somebody, I'm like, oh, okay, they're dealing with this and they're dealing with that. But I don't come out and say, hey, are you blank? Do you have this diagnosis? But I will ask if they need specific accommodations. I'll say, do you need me to slow down? Do you need me to write it down? Is it better over a Zoom call or a phone call? Do you want me to meet you in person? So like, I understand that there always is going to be somebody dealing with something. And so for me, modeling that behavior of accessibility, modeling that behavior of what supports do you need, I think teaches other people like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even realize that they were dealing with that. So yeah, you're right. It has to be a bigger conversation. But this leads to a wider topic where even without a quote unquote diagnosed disability, every individual person has different personality types, different needs. Not every single person is going to be great on a Zoom call. Not every single person is going to reply to all the emails you send them. Not every person is a numbers thinker or a wordsmith or whatever it is, however we communicate. For every different type of person, there's a different way that we interact with each other. So I believe firmly in my heart as a tenet of my lifestyle that by advocating for disability rights, what we're really doing is creating a more accessible society for everybody. We can learn from each other in ways that excluding the disability community limits us.
Konstantine, great point. And I'll tell you something. We're going to have to, wrap it up here. I know you probably have tons of stuff, and I know Dr. Khan does as well. But I do want to share with you that your thought process about, bringing attention and sitting down and getting to know your community and really taking a step back and looking and analyzing the things that need to change and improve. If there's people that disagree with a thought or something that you say out loud, my challenge to them is then make me change my mind. Tell me something, or share your feedback with me, right, as to why you don't accept this, or you don't like that, or we push a lot. I'm a Christian, right? I grew up Catholic, and we still practice that. But there's people that have been traumatized in their lives that don't believe in God because everything in their life has been negative. And one of the conversations I had yesterday was, you don't believe in God, and that's your decision. And I would never try to change that. That's your decision. I said, you're going to figure all that out, right? But the purpose, or the reason that many of the reasons why, was because as this person's being traumatized, some of the churches were the places that she was being traumatized in. So when we look at that, how is it if you're going and saying, I need help from the churches, or I need help from the police departments or the fire departments or the medical staff, and the people that education even, or your families, and all of those people are shutting the door on you, or they're doing what's best for them and they forget about what your needs are, that's where the issue starts. Because now it's like, I've asked for help 5 different times and everybody has shut the door on me. Right. I'm done asking for help. I'm going to fix this problem myself. And that's where you said people will make the wrong decisions. But when they make that wrong decision, instead of just letting them make that wrong decision and putting them behind, bars or whatever it might be, is sit down with that person and find out, why was that decision made? Why did you do that? Was it because you had urges that you couldn't control? Or was this because you tried to ask for help and nobody would help you, and every door was shut, and you begged for those helps, and it just didn't happen? And now, this is the only means of survival you had left. Because if that's the answer, then, people are still going to say, well, you should have kept asking. Okay, but at certain points when you're hungry, or you don't have a place to sleep, or you're being preyed on, or whatever it might be, and you're in that survival, fight, flight, freeze, fornicate, whatever the 5 F's are, people are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I will
it's
say,
not always right.
I will say, and Dr. Khan could probably back me up on this, it's not just the Catholic Church. It's, it's most religions, it's most governments, it's our schools, it's our communities, even down to our familial units. We need a fundamental culture shift on this planet towards disabilities, towards disability rights, understanding that every individual person could be different, but we need to show that to people. So
Konstantine, we're gonna wrap this up, but I'm going to have another meeting.
I would like to add one point over here. Sorry, because the religion part overcome over here. Like we both all the time talking about, the therapy thing, and we know that children learn very good with their music. And I was talking to a child, and he said yesterday to me that music is haram in Islam. And you cannot play music, it's haram. Okay, that is a thing, because you cannot do that. Even somebody is feeling better after doing that, or that is a very controversial thing. But even that is a thing that a lot of people are doing, streaming through music. So streaming rhythm is somehow they call it haram. There's another thing that I was working with a girl, and when I'm working with autistic or ADHD, they're very good with art. Like Konstantine is also a performer. He is somehow art. That's helped him a lot. I don't know he understands this or not, but that helped him a lot to unmask himself to a lot of roles. That's why it's easy for him to talk in a lot of things. I was working with a girl and I asked her to draw. I asked them to draw their feelings. I asked them to doodle, and that's how they understand that what they're feeling in a certain situation. And she said that I cannot draw anything at all because it is forbidden in our religion. And I said that, okay, just don't draw the faces, but you can draw the doodle, you can draw the stick man. I just want you to understand that what you are feeling. And when they draw something, it's a best way. And when we are talking, then our talking is very much buffer. But when we are drawing something, then our unconscious is straight away coming to the picture. It's straight away what we were thinking in that time. But that girl is struggling a lot. if I'm working with my other clients, they're doing very well. And their art become very good. Someday I will show the pictures with you, and they are doing amazing job. And
Yeah.
that girl is stuck a lot.
It's
You know,
incredible
she's
to
stuck.
see when you have somebody who's struggled for that so long, and they find that community, they find the church that's accepting to them, or the mosque that tells them they can be who they are. And they find that community that says, oh no, just be yourself. That person just, they blossom overnight almost. It is incredible to watch. And those are the spaces we really need to find and expand.
Well, Konstantine, Anthony, thank you so much for Mayor Anthony. Good job. Thank you for taking your time today and sharing your heart and your your business background and all that kind of stuff that you've done and your accomplishments, and keep doing what you're doing, keep fighting. Again, we would love to reconnect with you again, hopefully soon, just to share our model and what we're doing. I have some people in California that want to start our chapter in California, and I think you would be a great resource for them. And this individual, he was actually homeless and addicted to drugs, and he got off of all that, and he has 5 kids, 2 or 3 with autism. So he definitely needs help. I think he's in Santa Barbara. I know that's a little further from you, but maybe you guys can, have a connection, and maybe we can get things rolling there. But we would love to have Sounds of Autism in California. We can start in Burbank. We would love that. I think you're going to love our business model, and I think what you're doing is already on that direction anyway. So it would just be a compliment to what you're doing. But thank you so much. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.